to me, tool grid is the physical embodiment of that. I'm attempting to do life well in all things.
Exactly.
I don't always make the mark.
Me too.
Right?
Me too.
Right? We miss the mark on certain things. Other things I may be way beyond the mark.
Me too. Me too.
and so, tool grid is the physical embodiment of that. It's like you get to open a drawer that's normally not done well.
A mess.
Right? And I get to do life well in that facet.
Yeah.
Not only well, but extremely well.
Exactly. It's a pride.
Darn near perfection.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what we're going to attempt to do with our partnership here.
Exactly.
We're going to attempt to continue to do Micheles Garage well.
Yep.
We're going to continue to, do Mantis Tool Grid well.
Yep.
All right, so Michele's here from Canada, enjoying to us it's freezing cold, to them it's like balmy.
It's beautiful.
So they've come down from Toronto. I'm saying it right now.
You are saying it right. You are.
Toronto.
Toronto.
Is what us, Floridians say. So I've been promising this for years, right? So I feel like, did you read Elon Musk's book?
No, I haven't. Is it good?
So I don't read it, but I listened to it.
Okay.
Walter Isaacson wrote a biography on Elon Musk, and one of the things that Elon does all the time, I'm not trying to compare myself to him, but what he does all the time is he makes big statements like we're going to do this. And then he takes a lot of heat because they don't actually get it done anywhere near where he had promised. And so I realized, shoot, that's what I do all the time. Say, we're going to Canada. And I've been saying that for 5 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, now it's actually happening.
Yes, it is.
Finally happening.
Yes,
and
it
so I want to take you guys with Michele. I'm going to take you through the story of that, of what our plans are and what we're doing together, and so I wanted to kind of go back into the last several years and figure out, what was my original plan, and then talk to you guys about what's happening here in the future. So first, introduce yourself, and where are you from, and what company you're with, and then we'll kind of work through together, work through the story together.
So I'm with Mantis. I started with Mantis 5 years ago after our founder and my late husband passed away. Actually, 5 years tomorrow will be Wally's passing, and we met Matt actually just weeks before Wally passed at the Apex show in 2019 in November. That's where you first found us at Tool Grid. And we've just developed a nice relationship between the two of us. We are in Toronto, like Matt said, and that's just outside of, right in between Toronto and Niagara Falls is where we're located. So Matt was up there, in March? And we've been looking at helping you, in a sense, get your distribution up in Canada.
You mentioned that to me
several
years ago. Say, hey, we have this new beautiful giant 50,000 square foot addition we added onto our facility. If you ever needed any help,
absolutely,
you just kind of put it out.
Absolutely, and the reason we did that also is because you've been such a great. What can I say? You've just been such a great marketer for Tool Grid for all these years. And as a way to say thank you, of course we want to offer you our warehouse. And I know COVID was an issue there too. We couldn't cross each other's borders. We couldn't come and see each other. So we came here last year and visited you at your other location. And it's just been a great relationship between us and Micheles Garage since then. And we're looking forward to setting up a distribution with you through our warehouse for your pressure washers and your car care.
So what I had envisioned from the beginning of Micheles Garage, I of course I didn't think I'd be going international operations. That was not part of the plan. But as I got a little further along, and I realized I have a really great relationship with Canadians in general. I don't know what it is, but my style my no nonsense, direct to the point style seems to resonate with with the Canadian car girl population. And so, I don't know exactly when it was, but I said, at some point I would love to have a warehouse in Canada. And then right around 2019, I think when you offered me, I was like, not really.
Yeah, I know you weren't ready.
You
weren't ready.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it myself.
That's right. That's right.
And so I fell in love with the show Heartland, and which made me fall in love with Canada even more. So I think I've watched Heartland 14 times. I'm on to my 15th round. I'm off and on it. Yeah. And I had come up with the concept, well, if I'm going to build a warehouse, I can do it whenever I want.
Absolutely.
And I didn't want to go to Toronto. I wanted to go out
Alberta.
to Alberta.
Yeah.
And so, if I'm creating something from scratch, I can do it wherever I want. And I really wanted to have a destination property somewhere in Alberta someday. And so I thought, well, what I'll do is I'll do it there. And so I actually flew up there, and I toured a bunch of different warehouses, and I was getting pretty close to figuring out what I wanted to do. Do I want to try to buy something, or would I prefer to lease it? Of course, there's been issues. You Americans or expatriates trying to buy property, they kind of shut that down for a while, and so that made it, well, now I have to lease. And my coach, I have a business coach, or coaches, Rick and Nancy, he kept like poking me on this concept of I'm going to have to hire people. Yeah. So I'm going to have to figure out, Canadian rules and employment regulations. I'm going to have to, then I'm going to have to hire staff ahead of schedule. Yeah. And I'd committed to all this, and I'm going to have to sign in most cases, a 10-year lease. Yeah. So I was going to have to sign a very expensive 10-year lease, and I'm going to need a bigger facility, because in order for this to work, I'm going to have to go all in right away. Yeah. So I'm going to need a lot of inventory. I'm going to have a lot of upfront cost, and I kind of resigned the fact that, well, maybe I need to raise some capital or borrow some money, or maybe forego some things in the States. And my coach just kept poking me, but he never told me. He never does. He never just says, "Matt, you shouldn't do this." Yeah. He's always just kind of probing, like, well, kind of basically asking, is warehousing your thing? Yeah. Because that's not really my thing. My thing is marketing, right? Yeah. And so that's when your original conversation, I don't know when it was, 2019, 2020, when you said, hey, if we could ever help. Yes. I could just kind of hear this echo, your voice in my back of my brain echoing, saying, well, I'm about to commit something that has the potential, if it doesn't work, to like sink me, sink the company. 100%. It's a big, big, big risk. 100%. If I build my own company, now the advantage is if it pays off, high risk, high reward. Right. And so, what I've come to realize through some soul searching and some coaching and some prodding, and then you in the back of my head saying, we could help, I called you. That's right. I said, I'm about to leverage my future here. What if, I took you up on your offer of partnering, rather than you already have the staff, you already have the know-how, you already have the space, you have the right people to do this. Because that was another thing I was hiding behind. Like, well, no one's going to be able to do it the way that I do it. I get it. Yeah. And so I asked you, and you said, yeah, why don't you come up? Yes. And so me, Chris, and Tommy flew up, and kid you not, you could literally like drop the pizza on the floor and just eat it right off of the floor. They like wipe the wheels on the forklift down after every use. And so they make me look like a sloth, like a slacker.
Not at all. You are absolutely right up there with Mantis, but we are a special breed, that's for sure.
And so it was clear to me at that moment, and I said, well, can we do this? And so we all sat down in your boardroom, and I said, I don't know what the numbers look like. Can we figure this out? Yeah. And so in my normal fashion, I told the audience, we're going to do this like next week. And we're like 6 months into this process. And so we maybe have another 2 or 3 months and we'll get it done. Yes, we have a little bit of work to do, but we're getting there. So the plan here is that we will be shipping out of, what's the town called?
Burlington.
Yeah,
Burlington, Ontario.
So right in between Niagara Falls and Toronto. Yep. So we'll be right where most people are.
Absolutely.
We'll likely be shipping Canada Post and UPS, I think.
Everything that you can ship here, we can ship up there.
So we'll be shipping all over the country. Yeah. We're starting with pressure washer packages.
That's right.
Because we need to get the staff trained, and so you guys are down here getting trained up on the software. Yeah. We're going to operate where basically what will happen is customers will go to obsessgarage.com. It'll know where you are geofence-wise, and then we'll accept Canadian dollars. Part of what's taken us so long is that we also want people to be able to still buy whatever they want. So it's going to take us, we have an 18-month plan to get all of the products there in shipping from Mantis in Toronto. Yeah. But we're starting with pressure washing. Well, what if you wanted a t-shirt, a bucket, and a pressure washer? well, we still want people to be able to make that work. We'll ship stuff from here, which obviously will cost more until we get it into your facility.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the other hang up for us was that we had to figure out how to set up a bank account where I can have Canadian dollars stay in Canadian dollars rather than having
about the exchange.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we had to get in a pilot program with Shopify, and so Bryce and Tommy have been working diligently to, and also with our shipping software with the POSCO to add on another company, and so getting this all set up. And then basically what we're going to do is just split it. Split the profitability, give or take a few bucks is how it's working. I'm doing all the marketing, they're doing all the fulfillment. They're going to ship it as good or better than how we do it. And so those of you who have bought stuff from us are going to have the same experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's the backstory of how this came together, and so now they're here getting trained, and we're physically going to make this happen.
Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, we're ready to go. So we just have a couple more little details, and we're ready to go. We're excited to work with you, Matt. I mean, we never forgot the fact that you came down to Apex that year in 19, and we were one of the first orders that went out to the public for Tool Grid, and I know that Wally and Chris came down and you unwrapped everything and you did everything here, and we never forgot that and all the great marketing you've done with that. So we want to pay it forward, pay it back to you, and say we would love to work with you and to help you. And we're not even interested in the profits, just to make sure that we help you get started. That's the way we are.
So let's talk a little bit about Tool Grid and the product line. Like, what do you actually do? So what I'm really interested in, the audience will probably be interested in, is you've told me the story, but I want to probe a little bit and talk about the relationship with the manufacturing.
Yes.
And how you do that, because that's the complex thing.
Yeah.
So maybe before we get into that, can you back up a little bit?
Sure.
So you were not in the manufacturing business.
Nope.
And I'm in such awe and so impressed with how you came from a different path and walked right into it. So you were second marriage, right?
Yeah, second marriage.
Late life marriage.
Yep.
And you didn't. What happened most of the time? You'll squander it or blow it, and I think from what I've seen, it's better.
Thank you.
So tell me a little bit about that. What that was like.
Okay.
You weren't there, Wally. You weren't expecting him to pass away. So it was very sudden.
Very sudden. So quickly, I met Wally in 2009. We were together the whole time, and I was in dentistry. I was filling teeth. I was what you call here in the U.S. an expanded duty hygienist.
Okay.
So I was just doing fillings. And I met Wally, and at that time, he was still kind of finding his way with some of Mantis because some things had changed at that time. But we were still in the drawer liner and the top business for tool organization.
Like the Russo cabinets, the liners,
they come from us.
Right. So you supply. That was the original.
That's
business,
the original
patent, right? Was his drawer liners.
Right. So it's about 2014, 2015 that Mako, who's one of our biggest customers, asked us to do something better. Well, asked Wally. Wally, we need something better for tool organization. Mm-hmm. And Wally put his nose to the grind. But before he started with the tool organization, he actually developed a drawer liner that is really special. We really have the world's best drawer liners, I'm going to say. Because Wally went and developed this formula for our drawer liners to have a bit of a stickiness to them, a bit of a tactile stickiness to them so that they could hold your tools in place. So when you open and close the drawer, Wally's vision was that if you laid your wrenches down or your screwdrivers or anything, when you opened and closed the drawers, it would stay on the mat. Mm-hmm. Really, that's the embryonic or the beginning stages of Tool Grid, and he doesn't know it at that time.
So when was that?
About 2015, Mako says, Wally, we need something better for tool organization.
So is he just kind of telling you at the dinner table?
Yeah, exactly.
You're not involved in this at all?
No, I'm not working at Mantis at all. Okay. I go in every once in a while and I drop off some donuts and that's it. I'm not there. Uh-huh. He comes up with this organization system. It's really a pegboard. Mm-hmm. And we're putting holders on the pegboard and we're setting it up. But the first generation does not have feet on the bottom. Mm-hmm. So for 3 years, we have this product launched, or about 2 years, right, Lisa? Something like that. We have the product out in the market without the feet on the bottom. Mm-hmm. And only Mako has it at this time, nobody else. And Mako's struggling with it because they're having a hard time setting it up because every time they put the holders down, they got to screw each holder down. And then the guy goes, oh, really? I want my sockets one more over, and they have to unscrew it all. move it over, and screw it all back down. So in 2018, we hired Marco, who's our head of product development, who visited with us last year, and you know Marco. And Marco put the feet on the bottom of the holders. Changes the whole system, because now you can almost work like a battleship game.
You can dry fit it all. Right.
And you can use it for weeks with that. You know, you don't even have
I
to.
saw some drawers
Exactly,
that
you don't
aren't
have to screw it all down. So 2019, in April of 2019, that exclusivity with Matco ended, and we have Generation 2 now. We have Generation 2, and that's when we launch it to the public at the SEMA show in 2019, and that's where we met you.
And so I found them in my normal Thursday morning, just running the halls, and I start on the right side of Apex and work my way down, and they were in the extreme left side corner. And it was like one of the last booths that I came up on, and I'm cruising, and then stopped in my tracks. That's really interesting. Tool grid. I should probably talk to these guys. This looks like a really interesting idea, interesting way to store loose tools. I'm going to reach out to these guys for sure. Yeah, that's awesome. Just have a little thing that screws in, and then and labeled. That's fantastic. This is why I come to Apex, just in case. Shoot, that's awesome. Yeah, look at that. That's fantastic. Really fantastic. Yeah. Wow. I knew it was worth a trip. Worth the miles.
And Wally was actually at the desk, and you actually met Wally there.
Yeah, you had an oversized drawer, and I was like, can I sell this? You know? You're like, well, we're just now opening it up because it was Matco exclusive.
Yeah.
And so then, rest is history.
The rest is history, yeah.
So then...
So 8 weeks later, Wally passes away.
Okay.
And it's sudden. I mean, it was like calling Lisa, who's here with us today, at 3 o'clock in the morning to say, Wally just passed away. I think we had COVID, both of us, and he was sick, rushed him to the hospital. He died on the way to the hospital. That was Wednesday. Monday was the funeral. Tuesday morning, I was at Mantis working already, starting in the back.
Did you think about, well, I got to sell this? Did you think about what went
no,
through your
I
mind?
never. Went through my mind was that there were 14 employees there. First of all, that all had livelihoods to look after, and that was on my mind. And I just said I have to put my big boy pants on here. And
so did you quit your job?
Yep, I quit my job. Wally passed away on Wednesday. And I was meeting with my office manager on Friday to say, I'm sorry, I won't be coming back next week. I was only part-time by this time, so it wasn't like I left him in a devastated state.
Yeah.
And it was a shock. I mean, I remember working with Jen. She was in the production, who's here today also, and her showing me how to tape the mats down, and literally tears were rolling down my face. I mean, it was just such an big explosion. But my plan was never just to sell it and go move down to Florida. I mean, my vision was to grow the company still, because why? I had asked Wally at one time, Wally, if anything ever happened to you, what do you want me to do? And he said, I want my legacy to live on. That's all I had to hear. Wally never said, sell it. Just do whatever you want. He never said that to me. He wanted his legacy to live on. And that's what, I knew what Tool Grid was. I saw the product. It was an excellent product. And so I wanted to grow it, and I've done that. And now we are selling it all over the world. And we're very proud of that.
So you walk in, you sit in the big desk.
No, actually, I'll tell you a quick story, Matt. When I was with Wally, he told me a story about when he got hired by Duracell up in Canada in the 70s. And he got hired in the lab. And the guy said, okay, Wally, you're hired. I'm going to see you on Monday morning. And Wally said, I'm going to start in 2 weeks. And the guy said, what? He said, I'm going to start in shipping. And I'm going to work through the whole factory, and then I'll come and work in the lab. And that never left me. And I thought that was the smartest thing Wally could have ever done. And it's the exact same thing I did when I went in there. Yeah, I had an office. I didn't want to sit in there. I was in the back. I got my tow motors license. I started working in shipping, packaging. I work on the CNC machine. I hot stamp. I RF weld. I will do whatever it takes. To me, that's the way you learn how to run a company. And with Lisa's help, she's our vice president, she's amazing. She's been with the company almost 20 years. She's my right hand. I knew that the office was looked after, and that the money was looked at. That wasn't even a thought. I needed to know what was happening in the production area, and now that's changed my whole view of the company. Now I feel very confident. When I see orders, I understand them. When I go back there, I understand what's happening. So it's just been 5 years of growing, and I kindly feel like after 5 years, okay, this is really my company now. And I still pay a lot of homage to Wally because, he's the one that started it. He's our founder, but I think if he looked down, if he's looking either up or down on us, whichever way, he'd be proud of all of us.
So now you take over, you step in as, so what is your actual title?
I'm the president of the company. I'm the only shareholder. I own the company.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now you have to start figuring out how this whole thing works.
Right.
And so tell me a little bit about how it works. You're Chinese manufacturing,
Yes.
which can be looked down upon.
Absolutely,
right?
yep.
But a lot of people criticize me of looking down upon it. I look down upon IP theft.
Me too. I don't like that.
Not Chinese manufacturing.
No,
You know,
absolutely.
there's certain things that they're the best at
You
that
got
you
it.
can't get done elsewhere.
That's unfortunate.
And that makes sense. In fact, I mean, I had almost bought a cabinet company from Sabre Cabinets, as a
I know
cabinet
Sabre,
company,
yeah.
and I was afraid to make that commitment. I was too early on in this, and because of that. I don't want to. Man, what if I have to get on a plane and go to China? That's not for me.
Exactly.
So tell me a little bit about how that works.
Okay, so how it worked was, I think it's 2000, Lisa, you're over there if you can remind me, 2005, 6? Canadian Tire was one of Wally's biggest customers. Canadian Tire is like your Ace Hardware, basically, and huge company, and they basically told Wally, either you go to China or you're done. Meaning, like, we can't buy product from you, even though he's got 17 sewing machines inside there, and they're making car covers and stuff like that. He's like we can't buy from you. If you don't go to China, it's over. Mm-hmm. So the guy at Canadian Tire got him in touch with somebody in China named Beck, and Wally phoned him, and the guy didn't phone him back. And then Wally phoned Beck again, and Beck didn't phone him back. And then finally Wally called Canadian Tire and said, I've been phoning this guy, what's going on? But Beck doesn't just take anybody's call. Like, he has to know that somebody's coming. So Beck invites Wally to China, and they have a wonderful relationship. They bond instantly. They're brothers, really. And what Wally did for Beck was just like a young buck. Maybe I'm going to say Beck at that time was in his late 30s, early 40s. And he had struggled with a couple of companies. And Wally went over there and met him, and Wally gave him a lot of advice because Wally was smart and he knew what he was doing. And Beck took that advice, and Beck has done really well ever since, because of Wally. Mm-hmm. And the two of them were like brothers. So Beck came to Canada in 2009, and I met him there, and we spent some time with him. And he was scheduled to come back in 2020 just after Wally passed away, but unfortunately they never saw each other again, except Wally had gone to China a couple times. Mm-hmm. So last November I went to China. I met with Beck and his wife Jali and their son Ivan, and they're my brother and sister over there. I mean, I don't even consider them, I don't consider it a work relationship. I consider them family. And they're just awesome. So we went over there, we visited their factory, and then I went and saw where our tool grid is made, and they do a great job at the injection molding plant down the street, and I saw where our drawer liners are made, and they do a great job too. And it's just been a great relationship since then. Like, since Wally's passed away, we've actually grown to have our own relationship now. And
did they speak English?
Oh yeah, perfectly.
Okay.
Perfectly. Their son, they lived in Australia for a while, and their son goes to school in Tokyo. So I went to Tokyo and visited Ivan over there first, and they're just amazing people. If you ever get a chance to come with me to China and meet them, you will fall in love with them.
So where are they in China?
They're in Jiaxing, so they're about an hour out of Shanghai.
Okay, so you would fly into Shanghai.
Fly into Shanghai, get in a car, and you're about an hour into Jiaxing.
So is that like a scary thing to go there?
It was for me at first. I mean, I have to say, Wally would kind of scare me a little bit and tell me that it's a little bit, it's like a third world country, and they've just plopped a modern facility on them. But it's really changed. I mean, I was in Shanghai, I felt like I was in downtown Toronto. Mm. I would feel safer there actually than in downtown Toronto. It's very safe. It is a communist country. You are being watched, but it's as long as you're not bothering anybody, you're fine.
So, how do you not get the product stolen? Is it because of the relationship?
I believe, but we really have to watch everywhere. I mean, we have people in the United States trying to print our product on 3D printers, so we have to, send the lawyers on them all the time. Mm-hmm. We just had a company just last week that we're watching right now that will have to send them a letter saying, you can't print our products, you can't do that, So we're patented on everything.
Mm-hmm. And how long is that patent good for?
Well, right now we're patent pending, and we've got everything but we're trying to, keep it as far out as possible. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So how do you guys manage lead times? And so this is complex, right?
It is complex.
Shipping it thousands of miles.
Yep.
Or what was it, 10, I don't know how many thousand, 8,000 miles?
Yeah, something like that, absolutely.
And so you have lead times, and that's why you built a larger warehouse.
That's right.
So tell me a little bit about how you think about ordering and inventory?
Good question. It's a good question. So Lisa, who's here, handles all of those reorder points for us. And we know that when we place an order, for example, for Tool Grid, that it's going to take about 30 days for them to produce that in China. And then that product has to go on the container next. And then it's going to take another 30 days to get to Vancouver. And then from Vancouver, it's going to go on rail and come to us. So we kind of estimate 90 days. So we know if we need something, we better get it on because we know we need it in 90 days. Or so we're always watching our reordering and seeing what we need, and we're constantly ordering.
How accurate? Do you guys have to open up everything and inspect it, or
No.
is it extremely accurate?
Not from Beck. Not from Beck. It's amazing. Beck's company. Well, first of all, Wally wouldn't have dealt with Beck if Beck was anything less. I consider Beck probably to be like you and I, very obsessive about making sure everything is perfect, and we don't really have any issues ever.
So then there's more than just Tool Grid as the business. So tell me a little, like
Yes.
the lines of businesses.
So we have drawer liners and vinyl tops. So for Matco, Mac, Cornwell, all of those big companies, all their drawer liners come from us. And then the tops, the vinyl tops also come from us. So we bring in the rolls of material and we cut it to any size they want. And if the company also wants their logo stamped on it, so say for example you wanted your own line of toolboxes and you wanted to use our drawer liners, we can put up Micheles Garage stamped on every drawer liner.
Right. Yeah, we've seen that.
Yeah, and we do that for the vinyl tops too. And then we also came up with a product through Niagara Falls, and we sell a rigid poly top. So it's a hard, thick plastic top. It comes in different thicknesses, 3/8, ½ inch, we can 1/4 inch, we can even do 1/8 of an inch. And like I said, they're coming out of Canada, so there's no tariffs coming off the China part of it. And we supply those to companies like Matco, and we're doing really well with them because Matco really likes that particular top.
So she's talking about, like, let's say this desk, they could cut a big square, a rectangle, and it becomes however thick you want it, a vinyl or a hard plastic top.
Exactly.
You know, and then everything in between.
Exactly.
Soft ones, hard ones. You know,
Yeah, and they can even come in
logos
colors. Like, so if you wanted red ones, we could do red. I mean, so not the vinyl. The vinyl, we could do colors, but it gets a little complicated. For the most part, we keep
Don't
those
you have
black.
some old product, like some sponge or something that you make?
So sponges comes from Beck as well.
Okay.
And that's actually coming right directly from his company. So we have a major grocery chain store up in Canada called Loblaws. And Loblaws buys 9 SKUs of magic erasers, scouring pads, sponges. It's a range of different items. And we sell to their grocery stores and to the Shoppers Drug Mart up there.
So that's a legacy Wally business that
Yes,
you have
it is.
that you just maintain. You have a big customer,
Yeah.
and but you're not out marketing.
No,
that.
that's really not our thing. I mean, what happened there was 3M closed down a plant in Tonawanda, New York at one point. And they needed somebody else to help them supply their sponges. And so we started working with Beck. And so Beck in China buys, the big ingots of sponges, and then he cuts them all down for us and packages them. And we never, ever have an issue with any of his products.
So tell me how you think about marketing. So the brand Mantis, is the parent company name. So it's Mantis Tool Grid.
Yes.
I see you guys are traveling around all over the place.
Yes,
How do you're working hard.
Yes, we are.
How do you think about that?
I mean,
to go from teeth to like big business lady.
Yes,
this is
true.
wild.
It's true. It is true. First of all, I have to say one thing about the team at Mantis. I mean, I could have never walked in that door if I didn't have the amazing team that was already existing.
But if I had walked in, they would all quit.
No, they wouldn't have. No, they wouldn't have. No, not at all. No, it's a great team, and they're just dedicated. They were dedicated to Wally, and they're dedicated to the company. And, so we do our little dog and pony shows throughout the United States, and we go to all the shows. We go to the Mac shows, the Matco shows, and we do talk to the distributors. And then we try to branch ourselves out in different ways as far as marketing. So we're in magazines. We're in the PTN magazine. We're in Autostrada magazine. We're in that. And we're constantly posting on Instagram. So when I first started, we had 186 followers on Instagram. Now we're at almost 20,000, and we're constantly growing. And also, I think we're going to set up a Tool Grid podcast room at Mantis so that we can have podcasts regularly and show customers what our new products are doing and how you can use them. And I guess that's it, man. I mean, it's just trying to get out there as much as you can,
But you have the complexity of, so you come in off the street, no offense.
No, it's
right?
true,
You come
though.
in
It
off
is
the
true.
street, and now you're having to learn how to manage, and make decisions. So you're obviously relying on the team.
Yes,
right?
we do. We just have a lot of team meetings, and we listen to each other. Yep.
And so now, how do you think about, like dollar spend, not specifics, but how are you processing?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to spend money on print. We're going to spend money on inventory. We're going to spend money on improvement of the facility or buying a new machine. How do you process that?
Well, first I go to Lisa and ask her if I have enough money.
Okay.
And Lisa's excellent at managing the money of the company, and she always has been. So I talk to her, and I mean, honestly, Matt, it's almost like I'm learning as I'm going a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had no real. I mean, I watched Wally, but we've changed a lot since Wally was alive, and just trying to make it happen. And what's happening is our sales are continuing to grow. So whatever we're doing so far is working, and then whatever changes, I'll do as the times change. I mean, we're working right now. Spoke with a Canadian influencer who's looking to do some stuff with Tool Grid, so that's going to help, other Canadian sales, and that's all I can do. I mean, just try to do the best I can.
So, how do you think in terms of? Are you a cost thinker? Do you think about cost? Do you think about? Are you thinking big picture? Are you thinking more? Units sold? Are you thinking number of customers?
It's kind of all of that. I kind of think of all of that when I'm making those decisions. I mean, and I don't know that it's all going to work. I mean, so far, most of it's worked, but I don't know that it will always, So I just try and do my best. Like I said, we sit down about every Monday or Tuesday morning with the team, and we try and talk about what's happening, the customers that are out there, what they're looking for, and then we go and we try to make it happen.
So take me through, if you'd be willing, take me through what a normal week looks like.
Okay. Well, I start at about 6:30. Jen is there first. She's always there and shipping first. And 6:30, I walk in, I start to do some emails, and then our production staff walks in. Okay. The production staff is the staff that does all the drawer liners and the tops and shipping and packaging.
Because liners come on giant rolls.
They come in giant rolls, so we got somebody cutting it, and there's somebody on the CNC cutting something else, and somebody over here is taping mats. And so when the production team rolls in at 7, I like to be there and see what's the day's going to start looking like.
She's making me look bad.
No. Don't worry, I take off around 3:30, 4 o'clock, and I'm beat by that time. And then it's a full day. And then we start with either I'm in production, then maybe I'll have a meeting with Lisa when she walks in to say, sorry, I touched the microphone. Have a meeting with Lisa there, and then it's just go. It's go all day long. Either I'm working with, maybe I'll go down to shipping and help Jen sometimes, or I'm in my office answering emails, or, just go. And it's like that Monday to Thursday. And then Friday we do a little bit of a shorter day, so only the office staff is in on Fridays. Okay. So I come in around 8 on those days, and then we go till 2 o'clock. And those are all full days. Like it never stops, really.
Do you? I recently watched this video from my friend Rusty sent this to me, and it's from this guy. His name's Alex Hermosi, and I really don't follow a lot of what he does because he's more of like I don't know, like one of those like hustle guys that are always talking. But he talks about there are two types of leaders. There are makers, and the makers have like these creative blocks where they sit in the room and think, and then there are managers, and managers like to structure and schedule. Yeah. What do you think of yourself as, a manager or a maker? Like, are you dreaming up product? Are you spending more time with Marco? Or are you spending more time at least in the team on the management side of things?
Yeah, I leave Marco alone. Because he's a genius on his own. I mean, but we do pitch stuff to him. We pitch stuff to him. But I leave Marco and the marketing guys in that room and don't really bother them too much. I'm working with the team. I'm working with Lisa, looking at the big picture that way. But I'm not dreaming up the product. That's not really where I find that's my forte. I mean, I understand Tool Grid. I love it. I love the whole system, and anything that we can do to add to the system to make it better, I'm all excited and really excited for this year for what's coming out. But I leave that to Marco.
So, do you have a toolbox in your condo?
No, I don't. Only because I'm in a condo. I don't have an actual garage. But if I had a garage, I would have a toolbox. And I would have my own little tools. Yeah. Like little tools.
See, this is fascinating because I wonder if you're better for it. Like it's not like your overarching desire and dream to have an amazing toolbox with your product in it, and so I don't want to offend you, but
No.
it's not a passion-driven business.
That's fair. That's fair. I mean, I didn't go to school to be in the manufacturing business and work with tools. I mean, I went to school for teeth, right? So
Right.
yeah, absolutely, that's a fair comment.
And so you've had to educate yourself,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And do it quickly.
Yep.
And so I think you understand tools, you understand
yeah.
the function, you understand
Yeah.
the purpose of organization
Yeah.
in order to sell it.
Absolutely.
So I don't know what question I have with this, but like, so I just can't, it's not that I can't relate, because I'm so driven
Yeah.
by, this is very narcissistic, but exactly what I want in my drawer, in my cabinet.
Yeah.
So I wonder how much better for it as a leader you can be by maybe being a little bit more detached.
It's possible. I'm still a very organized, clean person. Like, you know, it shows at Mantis. So, but that's a possibility that is a true statement that I can.
So you can stay focused on the people,
Yep.
on the process,
Yep.
on the customer.
Yes.
Yes. And not
let
get-
them handle that stuff. Yeah. It's hard to do. It's hard to do because I'm letting them handle a big portion of the company, but I trust them because it was already managed and doing well before I walked in the door. So I didn't have to really, come in and.
So from your perspective, how did Wally do at that? Because he was the passion.
Yes, he
his
was the passion,
right?
yeah.
And so obviously he's hands-on.
Yes, very hands-on.
And he took care of people.
Yes, he did.
But do you think maybe you're a better leader because of the detachment?
I think it's just different. Wally was a little older, could be a little more strict, and I kind of came in with a little bit of empathy and let's talk it out.
Some of that could be male, female.
It's
too,
true.
right?
That's true.
Personality.
And that's true. And I'm heading towards 60, and I said, I've said to the staff there, I really want the next half of my life, if I can get there, to work in a different environment. I've worked for people that have been strict and hard, and it doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means I just didn't enjoy my work experience. So I wanted Mantis to have a good work-life balance. When you're there, I want you to feel like it's home and that you're not dredging the fact that you've got to drive into the parking lot in the morning. And I don't have to yell at anybody there. They're just great.
Did you sense any pushback when you first took over?
Probably a little bit from a couple employees that are no longer there. They probably didn't want to, but
they
no
were
longer
working for Wally.
Yeah, they were working for Wally.
Right.
Yeah,
and here you come with a different style.
Absolutely.
And
who the hell is she? That's kind of what I got, right? So, and then I had to, women, I think, fortunately have to prove themselves always a little bit more than men, right? We have to really show that we can do it. So I think that might have intimidated a couple people, but that's why they're not there anymore. The company really is mostly ran by women now. We have a president, that's a woman. We have Lisa, who's our vice president. She's a woman. We have Jen, who's our shipping supervisor. Tracy, who is our packaging supervisor. And so we just, it's a lot of women in there, and we just run it a little differently. Yeah.
So what does the future look like?
I want to take Mantis. I really want to take Tool Grid all over the world. Okay. And I want to grow the company until I can't do it anymore, and then we'll see what happens, Right now, I'm loving every minute of it. I really am. I'm loving every minute of it. Sometimes I'm not saying I'm not tired. I'm tired. But I'm loving it. So it's not, right now I feel like it's a good passion for me. But again, like I said, I'm almost 60, so I feel that at some point, I'm going to retire. So we'll see what that looks like, whether somebody will maybe come in and buy it from me, or whether the employees will continue and I will just let them run it. We'll see what happens.
What about product-wise? Is there anything?
We're going to continue. We are just going to continue growing.
You're refining the product line to continue to solve.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So what do you think? If someone asked you to define, Mantis or define Tool Grid as a product, how do you define it?
I would say that it's the best tool organization system in the world. Everybody has racks and they have ratchets and they have this thing to hold that thing. But the nice thing about Tool Grid, it's a whole system. It comes with the boards and then all the holders. And there's not a tool right now that you can't organize. And if there is one, we'll figure it out. So I just think that nobody else has anything like this. And like I said, even in China last year when I was in Shanghai, I went to the show and I walked the show and nobody has anything like Tool Grid. It's just the same old stuff that's out there. You know what I mean? And I can't wait to see it in the next level. I can't wait to see the next generation. What else can we do? You know, and I think that there's still a lot of tools out there for different specialties, like you know, maybe somebody that's into aerospace engineering. They're going to have way different things than the automotive guy has.
Sure.
So let's design something for them because they need organization too, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, it's so interesting to me to watch you as, you know, learn leadership, become a leader. You just have this like innate ability. I can just see it when I visit with your people.
Thank you.
That you shouldn't have, right?
Thank you.
And so, like, I see you as this like seasoned, like
thank you.
multi-decade, you know, leader.
No.
And so I'm just fascinated by your story and how this happened. What's your education
Thank you.
background?
Yeah, so I went to school in Texas actually. So I went to school in 1992. I drove down to Texas by myself. Originally, a girlfriend was supposed to come with me, but she backed out a week before we left.
From Toronto?
Yeah, from Toronto. I got in my little Honda Prelude and I drove all the way down to Denton, Texas, which is just outside of Dallas, and went to Texas Women's University. And I wanted to be a dental hygienist. And in Canada, at that time, it wasn't so easy to be a dental hygienist back then. You had only 3 community colleges that you could apply to, and they only took 45 girls, and if you didn't get in, you didn't get in. I didn't even apply, because I didn't even think I could get into those schools. And I just decided when I ran into a couple girls that I knew that had become dental hygienists and gone to school in the U.S., I started to look into going into the U.S. So I went down to Texas, and I did a 4-year degree program down there, and I finished that 4-year degree program in about 3 years because I stayed for 2 summers and took nights classes and Friday classes and summer classes because I didn't want to stay down there. It was a fortune to go down there at that time.
Yeah.
And I graduated in 1995 and been working as a dental hygienist ever since.
But you're not a dual citizen?
No, I went down there as an international student. I paid a fortune for it too.
So you had to pay extra
Yeah,
for
I had to
that?
pay extra. Yeah, it was 3 times for every unit I had to pay for every unit.
And then the Canadian dollar.
And
as well.
at that time, it was the dollar was similar to what it is right now. I think it was at 68 cents.
Yeah.
So it was a fortune for me to do that, you know.
So no leadership.
No leadership, but then when I got out into the dental field and I was a restorative hygienist, I mean, I would have an assistant or 2 underneath me that would work with me. So in that sense, I was a bit of a leader in that role.
You become like a leader in
Yeah, and that
practice
little bit about that. But and then there was a couple courses that you took over the years, the Myers-Briggs and learning about personality, figuring out stuff like that. So it's all been leading up to where I am now. So yeah.
So you as a leader, what do you think, position-wise? Let's say you doubled.
Okay.
You know, let's say the business doubled.
Yeah.
What do you think happens then from a business perspective, from a personnel perspective? Who do you add, or what type of roles do you add?
I would try to listen. We know right away whether you're Mantis material. So whenever we're hiring somebody, we always just say, bring them in for the day. We'll know right away. Whether you show up on time, you show up late, you're lazy while you're there. We're like you're not even bye. Or we work with them for 1 or 2 days and we'll say, yeah, this one's good. We know it, and I see that's how we would hire people in the future. You would be a Mantis personnel person. You either are or you're not, and that means like you're careful when you're packaging stuff. You're careful with the floors. You're careful with how you talk to each other, and all of those things that make you a good employee and a good team member.
Could you see yourself hiring a CEO?
Possibly. You never know. You never know. I mean, we're definitely growing. We've almost doubled our business in the last 5 years, so we are getting up there. So you never know what's going to happen. I mean, when Wally had the business, before we built the new warehouse, he started building it around 2017. We had 2 or 3 off-site warehouses, so we were so inefficient. We had to hire a truck and drive down the street and get product and bring it back, or a container would come in and they'd load up the stuff from the container and take it over to that warehouse. We've changed a lot of those things and made things way more efficient. So we don't even have any other way to really talk to each other now, unless we're talking to each other via emails. What I mean by that is, Wally never had all the staff with their own personal email. So just those little things, make a difference. So like if you need to tell Jen something in shipping, I don't have to run down to shipping. I can just tell her in an email, type of thing. So we've changed the processes so that they're more efficient. We are doing better financially, and we're just doing well as a group.
How do you have an outside software that you've employed for inventory? How do you guys manage that?
We did upgrade our system last year, or 2 years ago, I think. We went 2022. We went to from Business Vision to Sage 300, and that's changed a lot for us.
So did they send like consultants out for a week?
No, we never did that. Well, we had Lisa and Daniela had training from the company on how to use the program, and then we just manage everything through that program.
And it helps you with POs.
Yeah, everything.
And,
Yep. All the reorder points, everything. And Lisa runs out in the warehouse probably every couple of days to check things, anyways. But
what I'm probing you for is there's, I would say, a large percentage of the people that follow me and watch me are either business owners or they're executives or they're aspiring. You know, they're a great employee. I mean, most people that can get through my gruffness are generally going to be pretty put together.
Yeah.
You know, and so to see, you know, your story, I think it's just so different than any other story I've ever encountered, where you step in and then that normally crashes and burns. You know,
I could never let that happen. I just couldn't let that happen for Wally. He worked so hard to make the company where it was, and also, like I said, the employees. You know, and
it sounds like he should have brought you in as CEO 20 years ago.
I don't think we would have worked well together. I think I was better off staying over there because we were both similar, so we could bat heads a little bit. So I think it's better that I learned. But to your point, like a lot of times Wally would come home with 3D printed parts and stuff and show me what they were working on.
Yeah.
A lot of times we'd go for breakfast on Sundays and have breakfast, and we'd go right over to Mantis, and then he'd show me what's happening. So
at that time, did you just...
I was excited.
Okay.
I was excited. I know.
You were naturally inquisitive about it.
Yeah, I knew that.
Rather than you're just.
No, I wasn't.
You're not doing the Canadian, just appeasing and being nice.
No, I could have done that, and I would be honest if I did do that. But I was excited every time I saw what they were printing, and I knew that we had to get away from those large size boards and eventually move to something that clipped together, like you're using the 6-inch by 6-inch boards. And you should see how many concepts there were of that. I mean, there were so many concepts. And he would bring them home, and we play with them and stuff. And he was right on the cusp of inventing those just before he passed away, and with Marco. And then Marco started to come out with them when I'm going to say 21, 22. We started to come out with those, and his design on them is great because he's got the nice, easily clickable parts that don't break, and you just build out your drawer. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I do get some complaints. It's too much money. I said, no, I don't think you understand.
Yeah, I agree with you.
The 6-inch boards, it makes it so that I can get an exact fit in the drawer. It makes it an easier install. I can cut it with a carpet tile cutter, cut it simpler. It's genius. I enjoy it, the process much more
and like
than I did in the past.
Marco designed these boards differently. He put score lines in the board, so you can just follow those score lines and cut the board, like you just said, with a knife. Couple score lines on the front, a couple on the back, and you snap it off, and there's your boards. And it's a lot easier to ship. And you know that 6 inches by 6 inches, you get 16 tiles, and you can do 24 inches by 24 inches. So I mean, it's a great way to build out. And you know what? I don't really hear too much about tool grid being expensive, but I have heard it. And I'll just say to people, you just spent $40,000 on a toolbox. You just spent $10,000 or $15,000 or $20,000 on tools. What's a little bit of money to organize them so that you could have that pride of ownership, so that when you open your drawer, all your tools are there and organized?
Yeah. I think the most I spent when I did the Harbor Hills house, I had a 22-foot long array of, let's see, there was 6, 8 times 8, so I had 64 drawers. It was like $3,800. I don't think you could spend any more than that.
Exactly. And what did you get for that? I mean, you got complete system organization,
for sure.
right? And I mean, I don't understand sometimes when I look at a toolbox and the wrenches are just, how do you find your stuff? I mean,
well, my problem is the millisecond I got it done, and I moved out of the house and tore it all apart.
That's the way it always happens. That's the way it always happens.
So, do you have any plans to do anything with foam?
Well, really, foam is our adversary, of course, right? But exactly. But what we've done with foam is we've done a lot of comparisons. So we've bought the foam, we've cut it out, we've did the price comparison. I think foam is not that bad. I do think it's good when you're delivering the tools inside the toolbox. You could never deliver the tools inside the toolbox with tool grid the way you can with foam, because they all sit in there nicely, and ship them and bang them around all you want, right? But there's no versatility with foam. And we've spoken with a lot of companies, especially in the US. We're working with a very large company right now that told us that one drawer costs about $2,000 for the foam. Oh, sorry, $700 for the foam. And that's them lasering it all out and cutting it all out for that particular customer. But when they want to add a tool to that and they want to change it out, it's a $2,000 tool change. And that's not the only person that's ever told us that. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, you have new solid works and new, you have to have a darn engineer.
Yeah, the whole thing,
redesign
right?
it, yeah.
And there's no versatility. You mean to tell me I got to throw out that whole foam and buy a new piece? And then every time I go in and out with my greasy hands, I'm breaking down the foam even more. Tool grid, you just move over 2 spots, and then you've got some room here for your new tool. And that's it, and you're not throwing that plastic in the landfill, which is, to some people, the environment is still a big issue. So if you want to keep the foam out of the landfills, I say use tool grid. That's the way to use it.
Are the Chinese, are they the ones developing all this stuff? I mean, or is it designed? Who does all the work? I mean, I know the answer to
Yes,
this.
exactly. Yeah.
But how do you think about design and engineering?
Fair enough.
Is it done, jointly with Canada and China, or how do you do that?
Yeah. So Marco does all the designing. When Wally was alive, it would have been Marco and Wally, and they do all the design work in Canada. We have 3D printers in our research and development room, and they print off 1 million parts every day, it seems like, and get the gist of how the part should look. Once Marco likes the design, he'll send the files to China. China will create the molds, the tooling, and start sending us first-offs, right? And then once we like it, or they'll say, you know what, Marco, the engineer said you have to trim a little bit off this part of it, and blah, blah, blah. We'll make those adjustments on the drawings. Again, send them back to China. Once China gets them and they like it, they'll run off the first run and they'll ship them to us airship them to us. And so we start playing with them and trying them. And we like them. If we don't like them, then we go back to them. But all of the design work is done in Canada. Everything else is just manufactured in China. Yeah.
So as the leader of the company, how much do you put, let's say we're talking about inventory management, for example, how much effort do you put into, or how much weight do you put into like gut and like physical, like go touch it, versus software? So how do you think about, how do you put software and reality into play to say when you're dealing with forecasting and seasonality and things like that?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So this is our busiest time of the year at this point because we do a lot of shows right at the beginning of the year. So our orders are really high at this time. We're selling crazy amounts of drawer liners and tool grid and so forth. And then things may slow down in the summer a little bit, and then they catch back up again. And one of the ways we do that is we take considerations of what's happening around us with everything, like COVID is a consideration, was a consideration. Are there any kind of strikes or floods or anything happening at the ports? And those are all things that we'll take into consideration when we go to order. So we may have extra stock, and I'm okay with that. I rather have it on our side of the planet, have it in my warehouse, and if anything's happening over there at the ports or any strikes or anything, that's fine. You guys go ahead. I'm good for a couple extra months. And like Lisa was just saying, that can be a little bit costly for the company to have X amount of inventory in the warehouse, but
so who does all the inventory management? Is it Lisa?
It's Lisa. Okay. So Lisa's the vice president of operations. So she manages all the operations. And so she's the one who did it before with the more archaic program. But now that we've upped our program to Sage 300, it kind of screams at her when things are looking like they're a little low.
So you have the highest level executive next to you that does purchasing.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, she's great at it. So, and she's training our next Daniela. You met Daniela when you were there. She's starting to train Daniela so that Lisa has a right hand to her now. You know what I mean? So if Lisa goes away, Daniela can pick it up and handle it. Yeah.
So, could you put a number on gut versus software? How important do you think software is?
Very, very important, I would say. But gut is. Is
it 50-50?
It might be 50-50. Yeah, it might be 50-50. I think that's fair. Because you're listening to what the program says, But the program doesn't know what's happening in the world at that particular time. So you have to consider all of the worldly things. Like, even now with a new president, what's going to happen now? Are we going to have some 25% tariffs? Those are things we consider now, when we're ordering. So we just don't know, right? Yeah.
How do you think about risk?
I think I'm a little bit of a risk taker because I do like to gamble.
Oh, yes.
So I think the gambling, I'm not a gambler. I don't need to go to Gamblers Anonymous or anything, but I do like to gamble. So did Wally. So I think that if you are willing to do some gambling, I think you have to be that type of a personality in business because it's a gamble. You are taking a chance sometimes. Wally took a big chance on Tool Grid. We had no idea. No idea. And we gave it to one of our best customers. I said, hey, Mako, you want to try this? And still we had no idea. It worked out, but it could have also, been a flop. So,
yeah.
You're not a gambler, right, Matt?
No, not at all.
No, because if you were a gambler, then it would be all gamble, right? So yeah, exactly. I know.
I'd be in a loony bin somewhere. Exactly. Yeah. I don't drink alcohol.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't gamble because I wouldn't be able to handle it. It's all or nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I forgot about that about you. We may or may not have been at the Wynn, and she was,
in Vegas.
I didn't see her gambling, but we may or may not have gotten an extra stake.
Yeah, exactly. No, I want to be clear that it's only small bets, like $1 or $2 bets, or nothing crazy.
Just a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, just a lot of them. Yeah. But I
bets.
am kind of lucky sometimes, so it's kind of.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's the problem. Yeah, it's bad because you win, and then you think you're always going to win. So. Yeah.
But that's business too.
It's true. It's absolutely true.
If you know where to go, you know what to do.
That's right.
The odds may be against you.
That's right.
But if you hedge your bet, if you take risks appropriately, there's little reward in life without at least some risk.
Exactly. I mean, I watched Wally take lots of risks in the 11 years we were together, and saw that some were hits and some were misses.
Do you think you're taking less risk now than he did?
Oh yeah, because we're established. Exactly, because we're established. We have a great customer base, and we have all these new customers, and we're growing. So,
do you have an example of a risk that you've taken since you took over?
It's probably when COVID happened, and we just didn't know what was happening with the world. I said, and we had some customers that were giving us some forecasts, and not all of those forecasts ended up panning out. But I said, Lisa, just bring it all in, please. Just have it here. So that could have been a gamble. That could have hurt my cash flow. That could have been, that could have hurt anything. But we feel that risk of getting the product here was worth it. That was one of the risks that was worth it. Yeah.
Whenever I think Obsessed Garage, and I've been here 5-6 years or whatever, like I always see Tool Grid. I always see the Krenzla.
Yeah.
So there's something about our two brands
agreed.
that is very similar.
Well, I think that it's similar because the company Obsessed Garage, the word obsessed in that title says that the person that owns that is obsessed with a certain way of doing things. And if you didn't even know Matt, you could kind of get that reading from the title of the company. And Tool Grid is that exact same thing. It's an organization system that, really just matches our personalities, I think. And that's why I think why we work so well together. You're obsessed with a certain way of doing things. I'm obsessed with a certain way of doing things. And the companies come together and they just merge well together and work well together.
The thing I'm struggling with is that, like, if you went to my house and you opened up the drawers, and I don't know how many dozens and dozens of hours into setting up and organizing.
Yeah, I hear you.
And so, it's just innate for me.
It's me too. It's in me.
I'm just born with it.
Yep.
It just comes natural.
Me too.
The effort required to get it to work, even when it is innate, requires a lot of effort.
Yep, and patience.
A lot of trial and error and a lot of patience.
Yep.
And I really enjoy the process.
Me too. I enjoy it.
And so the thing I'm struggling with currently is how do I package that up and provide it as a resource to the rest of the world. So I always feel like I'm behind on my world conquest of providing more people with Tool Grid, because I haven't quite caught how do I package without shutting everything else down and just doing this.
Fair enough.
I'm struggling with the packaging of this relationship that you and I have to the similarities there, and how Mantis is Krenzla. There's certain brands that are synonymous with my name, with Matt Mormon, Obsessed Garage.
Yes.
And so I've been struggling with figuring out how to put this together. how to package this specifically to bottle up what it is that's in my head, and then providing people the resource. Like with the pressure washer, it's 12 parts.
Okay.
These 12 parts and pieces from all over the world, I put them together, I can package that up and say, take a picture of it, here's how it works, make 100 videos on how to service it and everything around it. It's easy.
Yeah.
But as simple as Tool Grid is, I found it very complex to bottle up what's in my brain and get it onto print or get it onto the internet.
I understand.
So that you can just click the darn button.
Yeah, but Matt, you've done a great job. You've done a great job. Your videos showing Tool Grid in all these different settings and all the different ways you've done it have really helped.
I think I'm only capturing the people that have the similar vision.
That's fair. And you only are going to be that person.
I want to capture the people that aspire to it.
Yeah, and that's hard to do because some people are just not, it's just not their thing. Like, their room's messy, they don't make the bed, they don't clean the dishes. It might not be their thing. So there is a niche market for Tool Grid and for people like you and I that are obsessed with a certain way of doing things, and not everybody will do it. But all we can do is get out there with the videos and talk to people like we're doing right now and say, guys, just try and be organized. It's so much easier in life.
Right now, I'm into the tweezers, putting the numbers on.
Oh, I love that. That takes a long time.
You know what I didn't know? Mike F. He's like, you could put the number on the top.
Yeah, you can.
I never even thought of that.
And
I thought it had to go in a little spot.
Well, yeah, you can put it wherever you want. I mean, there is that little square there that's meant for the number.
That's where I was putting it all. And I'm like, well, I can put it on the top so you can see through.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. Yeah, I mean, it's not, that's the mark for the label or that number is very subtle on the holder. So it doesn't technically, if you want to move it to somewhere else, it's more convenient for you.
So I've been working on that. But that's a 20, 30-hour deal.
I know.
For as many tools as I have.
But once you get there, how happy are you?
Oh, it's great.
I know. Like I say
it's the first thing that I show anybody. It's like I don't know if it's I'm proud of it or there's some gratitude of the ability to be able to put the effort into it. And then the struggle for people online watching is like, well, it doesn't even look like you use your tools. I mean, that's kind of the point. Use them, care for them, put them back where they belong.
Exactly.
It looks as though I've never used it.
I know, but you are using them. You just exactly what you just said. You finish with that 10 millimeter, you put it back on the 10 millimeter socket.
That's another disadvantage to foam is that foam doesn't, once you beat it up, once you get it greasy, it's done.
And I think there's the odd foam, like the one of that company that we talked to when we were at SEMA, and she said her foam has got basically that carbon coating on top of it, preventing it from breaking down when the mechanics go in. But most foam is not like that. Most foam, it breaks down, it gets dirty, you lose a tool and you can't even put a different tool back in there, or you see the guys try to cut it out themselves and it looks awful. So it's just pride of ownership is a big deal and was a big deal for me my whole life. I mean, I was never, I wasn't rich. My dad worked in a steel company, my mom worked for Sears. So growing up, whenever we got something, it was a big deal, and to take care of it and to really be careful with it. And I've just been like that my whole life, even with my cars. I'm very particular about keeping them clean and keeping things organized. It's something that I think the tool industry should promote more, is to be more proud of the fact that you just invested all that money into the toolbox and the tools. Take care of them. It's your investment that you're going to use for your work life now, and it's a nice way to be proud of what you're doing is to open up that drawer and see everything the way it is.
Yeah, a friend of mine, a customer, and long-term follower, Seth, sent me an email recently, and he said, one of the things I admire about me is that you're trying to do life well in all things.
Yes.
And so, to me, Tool Grid is the physical embodiment of that. I'm attempting to do life well in all things. Exactly. I don't always make the mark.
Me too.
Right?
Me too.
Right? We miss the mark on certain things. Other things I may be way beyond the mark.
Me too. Me too.
and so, Tool Grid is the physical embodiment of that. It's like you get to open a drawer that's normally not done well.
A mess.
Right, and I get to do life well in that facet. Yeah. Not only well, but extremely well.
Exactly, it's a pride.
Darn near perfection.
Yeah, Absolutely.
And I think that's the story. And I think that's, to sort of wrap up here, I think that's what we're going to attempt to do with our partnership here.
Exactly.
We're going to attempt to continue to do Obsessed Garage well.
Yep.
We're going to continue to, do Mantis Tool Grid well.
Yep.
And then put it together. And then hopefully I can figure out a way to bottle up my brain and my tool grid brain for the masses.
That's right.
Right, and then we can do even more stuff.
That's right.
To do well together.
That's right.
And so, those of you that are in Canada, what's coming is the reason why we're doing this podcast. They flew down here specifically to be trained and to be set up and prepared. I think we're more prepared than our teams did.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you and I did it, although we're organized, we'd have just wung it, right?
Exactly.
And so they've done dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's.
That's right.
We're still going to have some things some boxes are going to get lost and some things are going to get damaged, and we're going to make it right.
But not from the lack of trying, that's for sure.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so the intention is to have the entire Obsessed Garage store available. You won't see Tool Grid.
No.
I want you to know, just like I'm talking about, like we're going to create a bottle. We have our own bottle and our own sprayer, and we're going to put our own stuff in it.
Yeah.
Or we're going to put stuff in it that somebody else made.
Yeah.
I'm not going to pretend that I made the stuff.
Right.
And so we're not going to pretend that I'm in Canada putting your box together. Michele's team is going to do that for us.
That's right.
On our behalf.
That's right.
But I can promise you, now I'm going to put them against each other and try to do it better.
That's
so
right.
we'll do the OG shipping and
That's
Mantis
right. We'll
shipping.
see. It's a
and we'll try to
contest.
do it
It's a
better.
contest.
But the goal would be to be able to provide people the resource to be able to buy in Canada, to not have to pay the extra shipping,
That's right.
the duties and
Get
taxes.
it faster, get it easier, and the prices for shipping will be less for the customer.
For example, I would think that our tool grid on our Canadian site will be less money than it will be in the U.S.
Yeah.
Right, because the Canadian-made products will be a little bit less.
Yeah.
Some things will be a little bit more.
Yeah.
Some things that come from maybe a treaty country with Canada, but not necessarily treated with the U.S.
Right.
Maybe a little bit less.
Right.
And so that was another thing on the side. I wanted to ensure that we weren't just doing a blanket. If it cost X in U.S. dollars, it's going to cost Y in Canadian dollars, and we just apply that flat formula.
Yeah.
I was adamant about this, that one, I wanted to be able to keep Canadian dollars from a business perspective, so I could pay my bills properly, and not have to do currency conversions. And I want to be able to, price things as appropriately as possible.
Yes.
And some things will be a little bit more, some things will be a little bit less. But I wanted to be able to charge a little bit less when I can.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not pass it on? We do that. If you can pass it on to the customer, do it.
Yeah, then you give people more of an opportunity.
Absolutely.
But whereas a Canadian might, for a custom install pressure washer, would have had to pay 50-60% more, we're hoping it can be somewhat parity.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
By bringing it, direct from Germany to you.
Exactly.
Direct from Switzerland to you.
It makes more sense.
Yeah.
It makes more sense.
I'm excited to be able to offer that.
Yeah,
and so,
we are too.
By the time you watch this podcast, we're weeks away,
Yes.
I think. They're ready and prepared.
Yep.
We have a few other legal things to iron out to make sure that's taken care of, a few other Shopify things to take care of so that you have a good experience. But the initial intention would be you'll know which products are shipping from Canada, which products are shipping from the U.S., and then we'll continue to update people. Maybe I want to create an email list or something where people will know when a product is available in Canada specifically.
That's a great idea.
Obviously, I'll be talking about it in videos and stuff.
Of course, and we will be too. We will be talking. So follow us on Instagram, and we'll follow things.
And
along.
so as we get something licked, we'll bring another thing in, and as we get that figured out, we'll bring another thing in.
Easy.
And so we're going to start with packages. And after we build inventory, we'll open up a la carte at some point later this year on things. So you're going to have to buy the pressure washer package to start.
Yes, there's going to be 3 packages, right? Good, better, best, basically, all set
Correct.
up,
On all of our
already ready
different
to go.
stuff.
And then
Correct.
we'll just bring it into Mantis.
And we'll have gun and wand packages,
Yes.
foam cannon packages, but we're going to start with packages, and then eventually we'll open up the a la carte once we have enough inventory in order to be able to do that.
So right now it'll be, if you need a couple extra pieces of little things, I guess they'll get them from you for now until we got it set up there
Correct.
in Canada. So that's easy. Those are
Yep.
all little parts. And
so our software on the site, it'll make sense.
Yeah.
Rice tells me it'll be dialed,
Yeah.
and so you'll be able to shop and be able to go as a Canadian and pick and choose. You'll be able to buy everything.
That's right.
And some things come slow and expensive.
Yes.
Other things will come fast and cheap.
That's right.
That's
right. It's just the way it is until we get going. But we'll get there.
I need to come up with some sort of marketing slogan for that.
That's right. That's right.
So anyway, thanks for being so open.
Matt,
thanks
you.
Thanks for allowing us to do this.
My brother from another mother. So always nice to spend time with you.
We're of the same descent, right?
Yes, we are. You can see we're very white. We glow in the dark.
I swear I'm part Canadian. So
you probably are somewhere down the line. I know. You're English and Irish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm English as well. So and Czechoslovakian a little there too. And so it's a good relationship.
So despite what people think of me because of how I'm presented, probably because of my face, I'm actually really nice.
You are really nice.
Like really nice.
I wouldn't come down and see you if you were not nice.
Right.
I wouldn't want to work with you.
And so there's a lot of Canadian in
You
me.
are Canadian. You just have to say A couple more times. Just like, this is really good, A. That's how you become more
I was
Canadian.
born and raised in Pittsburgh.
That's right, which is not far.
And then went to high school in Hazleton, which has a weird hybrid Philadelphia accent. Went to college in Philadelphia, and I refused to have an accent. And so now I live in the South, live in Florida, and so I've maintained a very specific, I lost the Pittsburgh accent.
Yeah.
They used to say yins and
Yeah.
whoosh and all that stuff. And so now I will not develop a Canadian accent either. So I'm going to stay neutral and like Switzerland.
I wish I could be like that because I say A right away, and right away they know I'm Canadian.
In fact, at this point, I don't understand how you develop an accent. Maybe I'm just too darn rebellious, too stubborn. So.
Well, we say a boot instead of a boat, so we say all these funny words up there. So
yeah, you're like normal, and then you throw in that weird.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, they're Canadian.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, thanks everybody
yes,
for watching.
thank you everybody.
If you have questions about Canada, shoot me an email, or you can send an email to just the support at obsessedgarage.com.
Absolutely.
If you have questions, I'll make sure we'll announce it. You'll know when you go to the Obsessed site when it's ready to go. But like I said, we are truly weeks away.
Absolutely.
It might be 82 weeks, but we are weeks away from getting this done.
I better not be. We're going to go
Hopefully 2
faster than
weeks.
that. And follow us on Instagram, and you'll see the latest items that are coming out for Tool Grid, and also on Facebook, and watch your videos. And thank you very much, Matt. It's just been a great pleasure working with you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you
Thank
soon.
you.